So then you went to Cambridge, and then you spent a few years there. And you wrote, more or less, as I can understand, more or less on your own, a paper that solved a well-known conjecture in operator algebras. That was published in one of the 3 top journals in the world, Annals of Mathematics. And then just after that, during your studies at Cambridge, you decided to go to Russia. And by some random chance, you ended up to working with Gelfand. I think Gelfand liked you very much. I think the word "like" is an euphemism. And let me just cite one of the many sentences by Arnold about the difference between French and Russian mathematics. So Arnold used to say that the French mathematicians can go over hundreds and thousands of kilometers and to discover a valley, the sacred valley and the river, and then once they have done that, they go back. But the Russian mathematics do the same, and once they found the river, they go over the river and discover a huge land that they explore. What kind of mathematics did you discover when you worked with Gelfand, and how did this have? Because of course you had work in operator algebras, which is a subject which is deeply analytic and algebraic, and then suddenly you discover something completely different with Gelfand.
You see, when I went to Moscow, I knew incredibly little mathematics because I was an undergraduate at Edinburgh, and there I would say, I studied the curriculum, but just the curriculum, and it was not very modern curriculum at that time. And when I went to Cambridge, graduate school in America is in Cambridge or Britain at the time was very specialized. So I just did operator algebras. I didn't study anything else. So I worked on that for 2 years and, solved this problem with von Neumann algebras. And I went to Moscow just for the reason that I was married to somebody who had to go because he was doing a PhD in Russian poetry and had to go to the archives. So I didn't go with any mathematical reason. Nobody had given me an idea that I had to actually think what I might do when I got there. I just thought, I was a very dutiful kind of person. I just sort of thought, well, I go there and I do whatever was expected of me. But nothing was expected of me. And when I got there, and by the luckiest chance, I had actually read some of Gelfand's works, which I'd read when I was at Edinburgh, in fact. And so I mentioned his name. I'd read some of his works about distributions. But when I met Gelfand, he was sort of interested in von Neumann algebras, but he was, there was just a very small part of what his view of mathematics. And so you say he taught me intuition. Well, you can't teach anybody intuition. He showed me what mathematical intuition was. I saw he had a completely different view of mathematics, the kind that was really what I dreamt of. This was the first place I'd been where I thought mathematics was as I thought it should be. Because otherwise in Cambridge, I was just with this rather limited group, and there was no panorama, there was no vision of what you might do with mathematics. I learned a lot, I read a lot, because I was very ignorant when I went there. But really it was just opening my eyes to a vision, I think, of a much broader view of what mathematics could be that was the important thing. And then I was only there for 6 months, and when I came back, I was working on my own, because more or less, so I did Gelfand had told me to work with Adams, but Adams was only half at Cambridge at the time. So he gave some wonderful courses. I went to some wonderful courses by Adams, but I didn't really talk to him, and he didn't offer me much guidance. So I was very isolated for a while.